With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with Chocolate Candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with Chocolate Candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by Chocolate Candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off Chocolate Candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
Two new facts I learned today. One, an edible is nothing like a Lunchable. And metrosexual isn't 2 people screwing on the bus. My new hearing aids are great. I can now hear the safe word. New watch will tell me how many steps I've taken today. 47. No wonder I'm tired. As far as social media goes, you can follow me on the bulletin board at Kroger's. Or my chart. Speaking of which, because of my bad back, I've had several MRIs, and it's been determined that I have thin bones, and as it happens, Thin Bones is also my gangster name. Because of my thin bones, I'm very unsteady when I walk. I own the fucking sidewalk. People step aside for Thin Bones. 52.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, September the 9th. And this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and President Trump. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you, Maria, then Stu.
We'll see how much.
It's great that Apple's building those iPhones, but they need to be building those here because they're not paying the true costs, and those price increases are due to tariffs that are normalizing the market because China and India have worse standards than us, and we need to move them home.
Chris Craig, thank you so much. That's it for me. Stuart Varney takes it away.
Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, everyone. 1 hour from now, a blockbuster report on jobs that has implications for politics and for interest rates. We're expecting a large downward revision to the number of jobs posted towards the end of the Biden administration. We're waiting to find out if there's been any manipulation of the numbers, and we're waiting to see if the new numbers encourage the Fed to cut interest rates. The whisper number is 800,000 fewer jobs than first reported. That's weakness, not strength. In advance of the official report, stocks are mostly higher. Dow up about 50, tiny gain for the S&P 5 points, about 30 to 40 points up for the Nasdaq, but in the green. Interest rates holding at lower levels. The 10-year yields 4.07%. The 2-year, that's coming in around just above 3.5%. On the show today, a dismal national report card on education. It paints a picture of failure, declining reading, math, and science proficiency, and a big jump in absenteeism. The Education Secretary says we need real change, give the money back to the states and parents who are best qualified to choose the best education for their students. The stabbing of a young woman from Ukraine on a train in North Carolina has provoked a national outcry. The suspect has a long rap sheet and was, on occasion, set free by local judges. The president calls him a monster. The media says the case is being exploited by right-wing media. And questions for Zoran Mamdani. Why doesn't he condemn outright the expression globalize the intifada? He says he will just discourage that phrase. This week, a Palestinian terror attack on a bus in Israel killed 6. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025.
And the most interesting thing about Mamdani is where did he come from? I think that was fascinating. Apparently, he used to be a social influencer or something, and he was a failed rapper. That's the rumor, that he was a failed rapper. And all of a sudden he's going to be the next mayor of the city of New York. Where the hell did he come from? I've never until this race, I've never heard of him. And it doesn't seem like anyone else has ever heard of him either, because nobody's providing any background. But I suppose that shouldn't surprise me very much. Nonprofit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little bit of Jordan Peterson.
Is it like contagious, where you can become a psychopath?
Well, it is contagious. I mean, one of the things we do know, for example, is that the worst thing you can do with people who have an antisocial proclivity is to group them together. One of the real failures of the prison system is there isn't anything worse you can do for antisocial people than to put them with other antisocial people, because then they're around antisocial experts and they compete. If you put psychopaths in group therapy, it makes them worse. Why? Well, they get better at doing what they do. Like, they're already manipulators. That's pretty much how they operate. If I'm a psychopath and I'm talking to you, the only thing I'm concerned is with what you can deliver. That's it. You're just a landscape of opportunity, and if you happen to be kind and sympathetic, so much the better. So if you put psychopaths through group therapy, they get more effective. It doesn't remediate the psychopathy at all. It's also very, very difficult to change that from like age 4 onward. So yes, you can teach people to be more criminal.
And that was a little bit of Jordan Peterson, see? And he says you can teach people to be more criminal, etc. And now we've gotten to the point where there's a lot of people that are becoming deliberate psychopaths. They look at the tools and the techniques of the psychopath, the narcissist, the Machiavellian, and use them to manipulate other people. And back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Jerry Wayne.
So you didn't do anything yesterday. So what? Today has already risen, and the clock don't pause for regret. You can squander a lifetime of sunrises just circling the ashes of what's already burnt. I burned up too many yesterdays thinking the good part was just up ahead. That if I could climb one more hill, I'd finally see the valley of content. But every time you crest one, there's just another damn hill. That's all this road is hill after hill after hill. So learn from yesterday, then be done with it, because you still got today, and today's enough to do something different. Hell, you might even hit a lick and wake up to it tomorrow. And when you do, look back and see how far you already come from yesterday. I'm JW, and I love you.
And that was Jerry Wayne. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little bit of motivation.
Each and every one of you got a vision, man. A vision to do more, be more. That vision has been given to you. But a lot of us, we discredit ourselves so much of the not enoughs. I'm not enough for this. I'm not enough for that. Congratulations. Maybe you're not supposed to be enough for certain things because certain things aren't enough for you. Maybe you're not supposed to be enough for that job because there's a job greater for you. Maybe some doors have to close in your life so you can walk through the better doors that are meant for your life. Maybe sometimes you got to get some no's that don't make no sense to walk into your yes. I've learned this in life. Rejection is the ultimate protection. Rejection is just redirection for what God has for your life. But so many of us in here, we're thinking that, oh man, my life is over. I want to tell you right now, your life is not over. Your life is just beginning. You are a choice away from a new beginning and a commitment away from a new life. A choice away from a new beginning and a commitment away from a new life.
Do you have the courage to embrace failure? To understand that each setback is not a blockade, but a stepping stone towards your aspirations?
Fear kills dreams. It kills hope. It puts people in the hospital. Fear can age you. Fear can hold you back from doing something that you know within yourself that you're capable of doing, but it will paralyze you from doing it.
Most people will continue to live quiet lives of desperation, never amounting to anything significant in this life. They might try to do something they really want to do one time. They'll fail and then go back to doing what they were comfortable doing, telling themselves and other people that it doesn't work. And many people hope for great things to happen to them, but they don't really believe it.
Hope is bullshit because it's not in your hands. You can't control hope, man. But when you get belief, it's the belief that you harness through hard work and dedication. And it's something that you know what you are capable of because you've gone there several times in those dark times. So my belief, why I kept on going back to Navy SEAL training and going back to all these different things, not because I hoped training would get easier. It's because I believed I can make it.
The path to success isn't a straight walk into the sunset. It's a journey punctuated with challenges that ask, do you really want this? Your greatest moments won't always stem from triumphs. Often they are born from defeats. For it is in these defeats that we learn to rise again.
Don't surrender to your struggle. Make that struggle surrender to you. You see, pain is temporary, but giving up is forever. Never settle for good enough when you know inside you live something better. You didn't come this far just to settle. You didn't come this far just to accept whatever. You came this far to take it to your next level. You came this far to become something greater. There Cuban odds are stacked against you, my friends. You will have these faith. So for your family, for your life, for your vision, for this world, don't you ever stop working.
I would rather aim for the stars and not hit them than to not aim at all. I would rather go after it and not get it than not go after it at all. I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. I don't want to live with that idea. Wonder what would have happened had I done more with my life. I'm going to go for it. Come hell or high water. I'm going after my destiny.
And I ask you a question. What is the benefit? What's the benefit of allowing fear to hold you back? What's the benefit of giving up on yourself? Of not stepping out on life and taking life on? What is the benefit for you? What's the plus in that? You gotta ask yourself, how long am I going to allow this to hold me back?
You cannot let your fear hold you back from your destiny. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it broke. Do it scared. Do it nervous. Do it trembling. Do it on your knees. Do it with help. Do it on crutches. Do it in a wheelchair. Whatever the case may be.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a little bit of meditation.
Welcome to this 9-9 portal meditation, a unique journey designed to activate your path of deep transformation. Find a comfortable position, either sitting with your spine tall or lying down in relaxation. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And slowly exhale. Let your body soften and let your mind arrive in this sacred moment. Breathe deeply. Inhale light. Exhale tension. Inhale clarity. Exhale doubt. With each breath, imagine stepping closer to a cosmic doorway. The 9-9 portal glowing with radiant golden energy. As you step through this portal, you feel the old layers of limitation dissolving. The energy of this gateway cleanses your mind, body, and soul, opening the path for renewal. You are safe. You are guided. You are aligned with higher frequencies. Now, silently affirm within yourself, I release the patterns that no longer serve me. I align with the energy of deep transformation. I am open to love, clarity, and higher guidance. I step fully into my true power. Feel waves of cosmic energy flowing through your heart, rewriting your inner path in harmony with the vibration of this sacred portal. Trust that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Take one more deep breath in. Hold. And exhale gently. Bring awareness back to your body, your hands, your feet. Wiggle your fingers, open your eyes softly, and return with a renewed sense of lightness, clarity, and purpose. The portal is open within you. Transformation has begun. Thank you for practicing this meditation with me. See you in the next meditation.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. A little bit more Varney and Company.
10 a.m. Eastern, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release a major revision to the jobs numbers. Some economists believe the new number will show the jobs slowdown began much earlier under President Biden. Charles Payne with us this morning. Do you think the numbers were politically manipulated?
Okay, so he's asking the wrong question. And what Charles should say is that's the wrong question. The question isn't, do you think the numbers are politically manipulated? The real question is, are the figures politically manipulated? And if so, how so? Let's see what Charles says.
I think they were manipulated through mostly ineptitude. And I think I do think maybe it's political in the sense that the Fed should know better. And they should have been pushing, the Powell Fed should have been pushing for a long time to get better data. You can't base the most important thing that affects Main Street, these interest rates, on antiquated data. You know, even the jobs report on Friday, there's a thing called the birth death adjustment. And that added 90,000. You know, theoretically, that could have been a negative number. Who knows? It could be revised to a negative number. So right now, you mean someone's got to pay an extra amount of money for a mortgage based on the assumption the economy is stronger than it really is, or someone's got to pay higher auto loans based on the assumption, a negative assumption. And that's the part that might be political. Why don't you fix it?
So, again, he goes on and on. I think this, I think that, I think the other thing. So what? Who cares? That's not what I'm interested in. I don't tune in to a news program or even this pseudo news program to find out what people think. I tune in to find out what is. What's going on? Are the numbers politically manipulated? Yes or no? That's all I care about. I don't care about this person's opinion, that person's opinion. Irrelevant. Back in a minute. Thank you. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of a Trump interview, President Trump interview, I'm going to do a Vice President J.D. Vance interview in its place. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for sitting down today with USA Today. And we'll be discussing the first 200 days of your vice presidency and your plans for the fall. But first, I do want to get your response to some breaking news and current events, including President Donald Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. He says it's over alleged mortgage fraud, but she has not been charged with a crime. Is this about forcing the Fed to cut interest rates?
Well, a couple of things here. So first of all, I don't think anybody doubts that Lisa Cook committed some mortgage fraud. Whether a local authority decides to prosecute or federal authorities prosecute, or of course the president doesn't get involved in those decisions, but she made a mistake, and she potentially made a criminal mistake. And the question is, do we want a person who makes a mistake like that to be a person who sits on the Federal Reserve Board, which makes important monetary policy for the entire country? I think that position should be held to the highest possible standard. So whether it's criminal, whether it's intentional or not, we know that this is a person, I think, who doesn't meet the standard that we should expect for the Federal Reserve, which is why the president fired her. And he does have the legal right to fire her. And this goes into a second, I think, a much more fundamental question. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Lisa Cook had done absolutely nothing wrong. Isn't it a little preposterous to say that the president of the United States, the elected president of the United States, working, of course, in concert with Congress, doesn't have the ability to make these determinations? What people who are saying the president has no authority here, what they're effectively saying is that 7 economists and lawyers should be able to make an incredibly critical decision for the American people with no democratic input. Like, I thought the people controlled this country, that people made the determinations in this country through their elected representatives, including the President of the United States. I don't think that we allow bureaucrats to sit from on high and make decisions about monetary policy and interest rates without any input from the people that were elected to serve the American people. And I think that's fundamentally what this is about. Who makes the decisions about this country? Is it those the American people elect, or is it unelected bureaucrats? And I feel very strongly that the President of the United States is much better able to make these determinations. And by the way, if the American people disagree with the president, they, of course, can throw out the president every 4 years and throw in a new president. But you can't say that the American people, that the democratic decision-making process has no influence over monetary policy. That's really, really, I think, an anti-democratic principle.
John Bolton, John Brennan, James Comey, Letitia James, Adam Schiff, they're all among the current and former officials the administration is now investigating. Does the president have an enemies list?
No, not at all. I think the president has a view that we should enforce the law, and if people broke the law, then of course they should face some prosecution for doing so. You know, all the people that you named, they're at some level of investigation, but unlike the Biden Department of Justice, what the President of the United States has told his Department of Justice is let the facts and the law drive these decisions. If you do these investigations and it's determined that nobody broke the law, then of course you don't prosecute anybody. But if you have people who broke the law, if you have people who violated the public trust, if you have people who mishandled critical information in a way that harmed the American people, and they've committed a violation of the law in the process, of course you've got to prosecute people. I think unless you prosecute people who broke the law, you don't have a real constitutional republic. So no, the president has been willing, frankly, to pardon people from the other side of the political aisle. In my hometown of Cincinnati, P.G. Sittenfeld was prosecuted by the last Department of Justice. The president issued that pardon. He's sort of a famous Democratic official. This is not about politics. This is about the law. And if the president thinks a person has been unfairly prosecuted, he'll pardon that person or commute their sentence. If he thinks a person has violated the law, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, he's going to encourage his Department of Justice to go after that person.
I want to turn now to the National Guard.
Sure.
Are the deployments to cities such as Baltimore and Chicago how the White House plans to fight crime?
You know, it's an interesting question. I think the president has the legal authority to deploy the National Guard to fight crime. And obviously we're going to do things that are in compliance with the legal processes of our country. But the president said a couple of times in the past couple of days that he really wants this process to be driven by the local authorities here, whether it's the state government or the local mayors. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, look, we don't want to go in where we're unwelcome. There's a political reason, because what might very well happen is that these people, mayors or local governors, stand up and say, we don't want the National Guard. This is a dictatorship. Trump is a fascist, blah, 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 blah. We don't want people to stand up before a press conference and accuse the president of being a fascist, accuse the National Guard of being part of some dictatorial coup, when in private they're actually thanking us for bringing law and order back to these communities. So there's a political reason not to do it. There's also just a basic cooperation reason to do it. I mean, look, if you look at Chicago, if you look at Baltimore, if you look at Los Angeles, these cities have murder rates that are totally unacceptable in the world's wealthiest country. We should
should want, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, you should be able to walk down America's city streets in safety and in comfort. You should not, if you're the mom or a dad of a young kid, have to cross the street when you're walking through San Francisco in broad daylight because there's a crazy person screaming at you on the street corner. We should have some basic level of comfort and security in our streets. And what the president has said is if these local mayors and if the local governors want help, he is more than willing to provide it. I think that he could provide it even without their request. But fundamentally, the president, I think right now what he said is we want to work together with these localities. We want to bring law and order back to American streets. We want to make America's cities safe again, but we want to do it working in concert with local authorities. And that right now is where the president is.
Right, but would they be indefinite? How long?
You're saying if we deploy the National Guard, how long would they stay? Mm-hmm. Well, I think fundamentally that would be up to the local governors, the local authorities, in concert with the President of the United States to make those determinations. I think you obviously have to make that determination based on the local crime rates, what's happening with murder, what's happening with armed robberies, what's happening with carjackings. I mean, we don't want indefinitely to put National Guardsmen on the streets of our cities. We just want to make those streets more safe. And I think once we've accomplished that goal and created, some local foundation for the local police to continue to police those streets successfully, then I think that would sort of accomplish the goal, and that's what we would need to do. In D.C. in particular, which is, of course, the only place where we've done this, I think the president's view is 30 days is probably not enough. If you look at how bad the crime problem has gotten here, how bad the armed robberies have gotten, how bad the carjackings have gotten, I don't think 30 days is enough. But what we really want with Washington, D.C. is to put it on a sustainable footing where the local authorities and the local police could actually bring safety back to the streets of Washington, D.C. I think you may have been in the press conference yesterday. There were a couple of journalists who talked about being mugged on the streets of Washington, D.C. I mean, a dear friend of mine who used to live in Washington, his then girlfriend, now they're married, but when they were dating, she came back home crying because she had been mugged at a CVS in the middle of Washington, D.C. This is crazy. We don't have to accept this. I think our message to the American people is we don't have to live like this. All you need is the political leadership at the national and the local level that's willing to actually go after the bad guys and make American streets safe for Americans again.
Your critics say it's meant to be a distraction from Jeffrey Epstein. Now that you're in power, you say that there is no client list. Why do you think it is that so many of your own supporters don't believe you?
Well, I think what the president has said, first of all, is he's told the Department of Justice to do full transparency here, to release what we have, to release the credible information. And I think you saw Todd Blanche just a couple of days ago actually release the 9-hour transcript of interview that he did with Ghislaine Maxwell. What the president has also said is that we've got a whole host of things that we can focus on. You can both order the Department of Justice to do full transparency. You can also ask the Department of Justice to enforce the law. You can also ask the National Guard to make sure that D.C.'s streets are safe. You don't have to do one of these things or the other. So I don't think that it's a distraction, especially when I think the president has ordered the administration to be more transparent about this than any other issue. Now, yes, I'm certainly aware that there are folks, even some of our own supporters, who have criticized the response of the president of the Department of Justice. But I think if you look at this in full and you give this the proper amount of time, what you're going to find is that the administration has been far more open and transparent about this issue and many others than any other administration. We have to remember this entire thing happened. This entire story blew up during the Biden administration. The Biden administration had 4 years to release this information. They did absolutely nothing. The president has actually directed his Department of Justice to release whatever information that we can and also to go further. I mean, to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell for 9 hours, to see if there are any other leads that we can uncover, to actually identify some crimes that we can prosecute. But again, as the president has always said, we're going to let the Department of Justice be driven by the facts and the law. We're not going to prosecute people just because other people want us to. We're only going to prosecute people if they committed a crime. That's true in the Epstein situation, and that's true in a lot of other issues as well. That's why the president's focus on credibility here and the real evidence.
I wasn't in there then, but I was in there for your most recent meeting with Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky.
Yep.
Your moment in February, it was contentious. Yes. In retrospect, do you wish that had went differently? And Has anything changed between you since then? Has your opinion changed?
You mean between my relationship with President Zelensky? I mean, look, we've had a number of conversations. They've always been positive conversations. And look, sometimes people disagree. So you ask, would I change anything? I mean, do I wish that we had had a blow up in the Oval Office in public? Not necessarily. But do I think that it actually elucidated some of the real issues of disagreement between the United States side and the Ukrainian side? Yes. And I think that was useful for the American people to see. And I think we'll continue to have these conversations. And look, there are a lot of issues of agreement between the United States and Ukraine. There are occasionally some issues of disagreement between the United States and Ukraine. And, what always really bothered me about this relationship was not the Ukrainians as much as it was the American side, specifically the Democratic administration of Joe Biden. I mean, Zelensky would come to Washington. He'd leave with $50 billion or $100 billion without any real goal, any real diplomacy, any real sense of what we were going to buy with that $100 billion. And that was always what frustrated me. Far more than Zelensky was asking for help from Washington, it was that the Biden administration had no plan for how to end the war, no real credible theory for how giving another $100 billion would solve the problem. And it just felt like this weird money pit where we'd throw money after the problem without any real plan to solve the problem. That always really frustrated me. But look, we've had a number of good conversations, both me and the President of the United States with President Zelensky. We're going to keep on working for peace. And our goal, I think, just to step back a little bit, is very clear. And I think on this issue, we're pretty aligned with President Zelensky, even though we have some disagreements. We, of course, want to protect Ukraine's territorial integrity. We don't want Russia to conquer the entire country. We also want the killing to stop and think the war has reached a point where the Russians aren't really accomplishing anything by continuing to fight. The Ukrainians aren't really accomplishing anything. What's best for everybody, including the United States, would be to stop the killing and bring this thing to a peaceful settlement.
I want to turn to the rare mid-decade change to the congressional maps.
Sure.
Have you spoken about this with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, or Missouri's Mike Kehoe, or Ohio's Mike DeWine? And what if the GOP doesn't end up netting any seats at all because of Governor Newsom?
Well, I haven't talked to Governor DeSantis about it, though I think that he's doing a good job and he's doing the right thing in Florida, not just on the redistricting question, but he's been a very effective governor in a whole host of ways. I haven't talked to Mike DeWine recently about the redistricting fight, and you mentioned another governor.
Kehoe of Missouri.
No, I haven't talked to Governor Kehoe either. But look, all these guys, we've talked to officials in all of these places, and I think everybody understands pretty much where the White House is, which there's a fundamental question of fairness. For 10, 20, 30 years, the Democrats have aggressively gerrymandered their states. I mean, look to Massachusetts. Every year in Massachusetts, yes, it's a blue state, but about 1/3 of voters in Massachusetts vote for a Republican congressional candidate. Massachusetts has 0 Republicans. Illinois, by some measures, a very massive state, yes, a Democrat state, is the most gerrymandered state in the entire country. And then California, where Governor Newsom is threatening to gerrymander it even more, actually is already one of the worst gerrymandered states in the country. California is massive. California has millions upon millions of Republican voters every single cycle. Something like 40% of Californians vote for Republicans. 18% of California federal legislators are Republicans. So our basic contention is that Democrats have rigged the game. They've made it so that even when the American people vote for Republicans, they don't necessarily get Republican congressional majorities. And so we're encouraging states like Indiana, like Missouri, like Florida to go in the other direction and to actually counterbalance that Democratic unfairness with Republicans playing a little bit of hardball. We think a lot of Republicans are gonna do what we think is right. And we do think that on balance, this is ultimately going to make American elections much more fair and much more credible to the American voter.
You and the president have now rebranded the One Big Beautiful Bill because, as he admitted, Americans just aren't buying it. How is changing the name going to convince the roughly 10 million Americans who will be losing health care as a result of this?
Well, what the president said yesterday is that One Big Beautiful Bill is a great name for it when it's a bill, but now it's law. And now we have to actually explain to the American people, we've got to do the job of politics and actually talk to the American people what's in the bill. And the reality is, it's the biggest working families tax cut in a generation. It increases the child tax credit. It eliminates taxes on tips. I knew a lot of folks who depended on tips when I was growing up, a lot of single moms who waited tables who are now going to get a big tax cut because of this legislation. It eliminates taxes on overtimes. I know a lot of people who work those extra 10, those extra 20 hours a week and are our view is that if you're going to work all those extra hours, the federal government ought to keep its money out of your pocket. And there's a lot of other good pieces of good tax news for the American people that we just got to talk about. We got to make sure that people are aware what's actually in this legislation, because I think when they realize what's in it, they're going to be very gratified that their federal government is working for them. And the most important thing is we're making it easier to build a business, to create a job, to work a job in the United States of America, while simultaneously punishing people for building businesses overseas. We want to invest and save and build things in America and reward people for doing so. But if you're going to build a factory in some foreign country, that's what the tariffs do. The tariffs actually penalize you for building overseas, while the working family's tax cut rewards you for building something here in the United States of America. And I think it's part of a whole economic agenda that finally puts the federal government back on the side of American workers and back on the side of American businesses. So I don't think it's you asked about the healthcare question. So if you actually look at what we've done on rural healthcare, we inherited a country where the rural healthcare system in this country was completely falling apart because the Biden administration had chronically underinvested in it. Thanks to the working families tax bill, we put billions of dollars into rural healthcare that's going to solidify some of these rural healthcare systems. And the only people who are going to lose access to federal health care benefits are two groups. Number one, people who refuse to even look for a job. And number two, people who don't have the legal right to be in this country, illegal aliens. I happen to think that if you won't even look for a job and you're in this country illegally, you should not receive federal health care benefits. That is a principled disagreement with our Democratic friends, but it's a disagreement and it's something I think the American people support, and I think they're on our side, again, especially when they learn what's in this legislation that's going to help them out.
Here's the magic pen that erases scratches instantly. Look, no cut, no Photoshop.
Can help them out.
As Vice President, you're a heartbeat away from the presidency. And your boss is one of the oldest people to ever be sworn into office. You're one of the youngest people to ever be second in line. Are you ready to assume the role of commander-in-chief? And why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training over the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the President of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So, yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last 200 days.
What does Usha think about you running for president in 2028?
I think she thinks what I think, which is let's focus on the job that we have right now. Let's do as good a job as possible. And if that door opens later on, we'll figure it out then.
Well, you have young children, and you've talked about the privacy that the Naval Observatory affords you. I mean, is that one of the things on your mind, the public scrutiny that would come along with that?
Oh, sure. I mean, with any job, you have to ask yourself, what effect is it going to have on your family? And I think that this job, it does have its challenges for family life, but it also has a lot of upsides and a lot of benefits for our kids. I think they've gotten to see the country through a totally different perspective. They get to meet a lot of new people. They, of course, get a Secret Service detail, which I think puts their father's mind at ease when they go out and see a lot of people, some of whom don't like their dad or don't like what I do. So I think that it's on balance. It's been a great thing for the family. And we'll just keep on doing as good of a job as we can for the American people. And Usha and I will keep on doing as good a job as we can at being a mom and a dad. And I think, again, it does have its challenges, but it's worked out for the kids. They're happy, they're healthy. Our kindergartner, or our 5-year-old became a kindergartner yesterday, had his first day of kindergarten. And, we showed up to the car line with a few more cars than is normal for most families. But on balance, I think this job has been a great blessing, both for me personally, but for the family. And what I hope is that it's been a good thing for the American people, and I work every day to make sure that it is.
Well, you say you're not measuring the drapes.
Yes.
But there's quite a bit of gold over in the Oval Office these days. Is that your aesthetic? Is that How does that fit in with the hillbilly elegy, J.D. Vance of Ohio?
Well, the president obviously has his very distinctive style, and he's made billions of dollars building beautiful buildings all over the world. What I really like about the Oval Office is that it's brighter. The first time that I ever walked in the Oval Office was January 21st of this year. I was, of course, the new Vice President of the United States. It was an amazing thing. I was overwhelmed by the grandeur of the office, all of the incredible history that had been made. But if I was being honest, it was the middle of winter. The drapes were closed. It was very dark. It had kind of a dark and gloomy feeling. This is the workplace of the leader of the free world. It should be a little brighter. I like what the president has done to it. And it's funny, we have 3 kids. We have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. Our 8-year-old, it's funny. I think he would probably say his favorite color is blue. Our 3-year-old, her favorite color 100% is red. But our 5-year-old, his favorite color is gold. And whenever he walks into the Oval Office, he's just blown away by it because it does have this bright, lively feel. And I think it's fitting for the place where the leader of the free world comes to work every day.
I know we're out of time. The final question I have to ask you, the biggest news of the last 24 hours, Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift getting engaged. She endorsed your opponent in the last election.
She did.
Do you think that Americans just want celebrities to butt out of politics?
I think by and large, people want politicians to focus on politics, and they want celebrities to focus on whatever it is that made them famous, whether it's singing or dancing or acting. But, I'm a romantic. When I see 2 people who are in love getting married, I just wish them the best, and I congratulate them, and I hope they have a very long and healthy and happy life together. I will say, as a football fan, as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I hope that the NFL does not put a thumb on the scale for the Kansas City Chiefs just because Travis Kelce is now getting married to maybe the most famous woman in the world. You guys can't sort of have this. I'm worried they're going to have like a Super Bowl wedding thing this season. Can't do it. The Kansas City Chiefs have to follow the same rules as everybody else. So if we see the refs being particularly friendly to Kansas City Chiefs players, then I think all football fans should be willing to push back on the NFL and say, look, you guys got to be fair. Just because Travis is getting married to Taylor, you still can't put your thumb on the scale for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Vice President. Thank you.
And that was an interview with J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States. Back in a minute. Thank you, and this is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that materialism is a concept.